Here we are again. Okay, this seems to be the day for failure. We have the perfect topic today. Okay, I apparently am feeling a little technologically challenged or something cut out, and I lost my live feed. But here we are back up and running. And today we're going to be talking about failure. So I'd love to hear from you. If you're here, go ahead, post in the comments. I would like to know what you think about failure. I'd love to know, most of all, what are the biggest problems in your homeschool regarding failure? So if you have some difficulties with failure, with dealing with failure, with the emotions of it all, with just what are you supposed to do? I would love to hear about them. So please do post it in the comments and I will try to watch those a little bit. Today, failure is simply the opportunity to begin again. This time, more intelligently. So last week we talked about having a fixed mindset and having a growth mindset. And in a growth mindset, failure is an opportunity for growth. So today we're discussing failure as an opportunity for growth, but we're going to discuss it quite a bit more practically. So it's easy to say, oh, you should just see failure as an opportunity for growth. But you and I both know that it's not that easy. When our student is melting down, when our student is struggling, we can't just say, this is an opportunity to grow. It doesn't work that way. They just get upset and they get more angry and more frustrated. So before we get going on that, I'm going to wait for some comments in the comments. While I'm just sharing a little bit about myself, I would love to hear from you. What is most difficult in your homeschool about dealing with failure and teaching our kids that it's an opportunity to grow and to start again? So just to begin, my name is Teresa Peters. I'm a language arts mentor, and I teach students how to believe in themselves, be confident, set goals, work through the difficulties on the hard days when they don't want to, how to deal with procrastination, how to manage their time so they can be self-disciplined instead of other disciplined, and really work on getting into being confident and capable young adults. So dealing with failure is a really, really big part of that. And language arts is the best place to teach that. And I teach it hand in hand with writing. So the reason that failure and language arts go together is because so often we see things as failures that are not failures. They're just the next step in the process. So we want everything to be perfect. We want everything to be correct. But really, what we need to do is work through the perfecting process. And with ourselves, we need to give ourselves grace to work through that perfecting process, to become more and more accepting, to be more and more able to deal with our own emotions, more and more able to see that learning and growth are an opportunity and they're my responsibility. They're not someone else's responsibility. Mom, it is not your job to make your kid learn. I know. I hope that's freeing to you. And it's terrifying, isn't it? Because if it's not our job to make them learn, then whose job is it? It's theirs. Are we going to leave such an important thing up to our children? Now, that is not to say that it is not our responsibility to prepare, to plan, to have a good structure, to teach these things to our children. It's our job to teach, but it is not our job to make sure they learn. When students realize that the things they're learning matter, they matter in their lives. When they learn those things, they start to care about what they're learning. And then they become motivated and self-disciplined. And this is something that I've seen happen again and again in my classes. The students who really, really apply themselves are the ones who want the skills. Maybe they want them because they want to excel in university or college. Maybe they want them because they want to excel in their career. But they know that in order to get their goal, they need to learn all these things before. And that makes the things that come before really valuable to them. So today we're going to talk about failure. So tell me in the chat if you were here, or I will tell you since I don't see anyone there, what is failure anyway? And why is it such a big deal? So first of all, when I talk about failure, I'm not talking about poor grades. Number grades, they mean next to nothing. And for many homeschoolers, we understand this. Some homeschoolers are very attached to grades, and grades are a consequence of learning, perhaps. But I see students again and again being so intimidated by the number that they get on their essay. And we talk a lot about how that number isn't what really matters. It's not the number, it's not the grade that matters. Now, do I believe in not giving any grades? No, I don't. If I did, then I wouldn't grade things. I believe that in life, we are graded all of the time, and we need to learn how to deal with that. We need to learn what's going to happen. We need to learn how to see it in a good and positive light. So failure is not about getting less than 50% on a test. Failure is not about getting less than 80 on a test. In my home, failure was never 50. Failure was like 85, 90. If you didn't know it well enough to get 85 or 90 on a test, then you didn't know it well enough for us to move on. So that was my bar, but that still is not about failure or success. Failure is anything that doesn't work out the way we planned it. So today, my live, it didn't work right away. Instagram is not letting me live stream. Then I got disconnected. I had to come back. Those are failings. Those are failures. How do I handle that? How do I deal with that? How do I manage the feelings that come with failing? So for our young people, when they're writing, putting words on a page that are not perfect feels like failing to them, when really it's just part of the process. And this is why the writing process is so valuable for Success Mindset, because we show them that writing is a process of doing something imperfectly and then making it better, but it's still imperfect, and making it better, but it's still imperfect. And even when we hand it in, we know that it's probably not perfect. Is there anything perfect? Can anything go perfectly? Not usually, right? Not usually. So those things are so important. And then when we transfer that learning from essays and the writing process into the real world, we discover that what we do on a day-to-day basis is begin imperfectly and improve. And that improvement is imperfect, and then we improve again. And that's imperfect, and we improve again. It is a series of failings that brings us to growth. So that is what failure is. That's what I mean when I talk about failure. And I am so not afraid of using that word, okay? You go to a job interview and you don't get the job, you failed to get the job. Does that make you a failure? No. It means you didn't get the job. That's all it means. And in this world, language is increasingly becoming ambiguous. Nobody can be the winner. Nobody can be the loser. No one fails. No one is the successful candidate, because that would be meaning that everyone else was unsuccessful, which meant that they failed. So the reality is, every day we have to deal with failure. And the sooner we're able to call it failure, and the sooner we're able to deal with the feelings that come with it, and the sooner we're able to learn how to grow through failure, the more we can grow and learn in our lives. So how do we respond? So we have a young person and they fail at something. So let's just, as an example, say they have an assignment that is supposed to be done. It's got a due date. It's supposed to be done by, Friday, and it's not done. And the first question that I ask young people is, oh, why is it not done? Well, I just didn't have time. I'm not afraid to ask the hard questions and say the hard things. And sometimes as parents, it's very difficult to do that because we get a backlash. But my answer to that is, oh, everybody else in class got it done. They all got 24 hours in a day. Why didn't you have time? What does it mean to you that you didn't have time? Well, I didn't manage my time very well. That's the truth. Okay, you didn't manage your time well. Or they might not even be ready to get to that step yet. And maybe they say, I just had so many things going on this week, and my grandmother was here, and I had all these extracurriculars. Okay, yeah, you had a lot going on this week. That happens. I understand that. Did you have any time to play a video game, to go on social media, to watch a movie? What's more important, the sport you play or finishing your work? How do we draw those lines? So I ask difficult questions that probably as a parent will get an angry response. And that's okay. That's all right. I don't get an angry response at all. Like I haven't seen a young person get angry with me for asking those questions. And it's the same reason that my teenagers didn't want to hear from me. When it's a parent, it somehow comes loaded. It somehow comes loaded with, I don't want to disappoint my parents. What if they don't love me? What if I'm not good enough? What if it comes with all this emotional baggage? When it's someone outside, they can handle it better. I think we're the same. When was the last time your spouse asked you something and you got upset? But if someone else had asked you, you wouldn't have? Did you get this done? Could be a completely innocent question. Happened yesterday. Did the dog get to go on a walk? No. Yeah. We respond that way to people that we care about because we care in a different way with them. So unless you have been working on these things since they're very young, it's going to be very difficult when you're a teenager to begin it. And even then, you still might get backlash that you might not be expecting. So for instance, it could be a time management thing. Maybe it's a procrastination issue. Okay, well, I had trouble getting started. Oh, why? What was difficult about getting started? Well, I couldn't get going. I kept being distracted by other things. Okay, what was distracting you? Well, I went out with friends and I left it to the last minute. So instead of doing the work, you chose what you wanted to do instead. These are hard questions, aren't they? These are questions as adults we don't like to answer. Because the honest truth is when we procrastinate, it's because we care more about the other thing than we do about the thing we're procrastinating. Or perhaps there's so much emotion bound up in that thing that we're procrastinating that we just can't handle it. And for our teenagers, very often it's emotion. There's so much emotion that is wrapped up in it that they just can't face it. So we work on how we're going to deal with procrastination because that is a self-discipline issue. That's an emotions issue. How do we handle those feelings and those fears? That is self-motivation. Why am I choosing to get behind instead of choosing to stay caught up? So one of the exercises that I do with young people on a regular basis is I say, how does it feel then? Like, how does it feel that you're behind now? Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible, they say. It's like a weight on my shoulders. And in the back of your mind, is it like nagging you that you need to do it? Yeah. Are you really able to enjoy your free time? Not really, because I know I should be doing that other thing instead. Like if they're actually quite honest with me, I am super impressed. They're quite honest with me. So maybe your teen might not be so honest with you. Maybe they're going to hide some of those things because they know you're going to use it against them. And there we go, use it against them. That's what it feels like when to our children when they're our kids. And somehow it doesn't feel like me using it against them. So we talk about, well, how does that feel? Well, yeah, it feels terrible. And then what if the next week you procrastinate again? What happens to the feeling? Does it just double? Oh no, it's way, way worse. Way worse. It's like more than double. It's like it's exponential then. I said, and does that help you to like want to go and get it done? No, it makes you want to avoid it more. Of course it does, right? So then I say, okay, we're going to take all those feelings and push them to the side for now. How would it feel right now if you were completely caught up on all your schoolwork and all your chores and you knew you had free time that you could do anything you wanted with? Oh, that would be amazing. That would be so exciting. That would be like such a relief to know that I had it all done and I didn't have to worry about it anymore. Okay. And instead of doing the work, you chose to watch YouTube videos instead. Yeah. How much joy did you get out of watching the YouTube videos on a scale of 1 to 10? 3. Okay. Yeah, there's some joy in procrastination. We don't want to do what we don't want to do, so we do something else. And when we do that, we do get a little bit of relief. We get a little bit of joy from that, or a little bit of happiness. So we get this little tiny little cup of happiness. And now I say, now imagine how it feels now to be behind. The weight, the frustration, the guilt. Maybe you feel bad. Maybe you are saying nasty things to yourself about not being good enough or being a failure. How on a scale of 1 to 10, how big is and bad is that feeling? Oh, that's like 8 or 9. Yeah. Okay, so you gave up this wonderful feeling of being all caught up, which might be a 7, 8, a 9, a 10. You gave up all of that joy and you took on all of this frustration for this little teeny few minutes watching YouTube videos that was like a 3. Is that logical? No, that makes no sense, they say. That makes no sense at all. Why would I do that? Exactly, because we don't think about it. So this is one of the things that we do when we plan and we prepare for failure. And so I'm going to come back to that in just a minute. So then we talk about, okay, well, why did you fail this week? And how can you make a plan to not fail? How can you make a plan to catch up and also to keep on working? And then we actually make a plan together. We work it out on their planner. We work it out in their schedule. They set timers. They do whatever it takes for them. And we keep working on it. So we talk about how at the end of the day, you should be looking at what you succeeded at and where you failed. Make a plan for the next day. These are the skills that students need to know. How to deal with these feelings, how to make plans when they fail, because failure is not the end of the road. It's just an opportunity to grow. So when we fail and we don't do what we wanted to do, then we need to make a plan to do it differently so that we can avoid that pitfall that caught us up. So we make a new plan, because hoping to do better tomorrow I'll just do better. That's not a plan. That's wishful thinking. How many of us have done that? Oh, today I lost my temper again. I'm so frustrated. Tomorrow I'm going to do better. That doesn't work. Tomorrow I'm going to do better. All of a sudden, magically, tomorrow I'm going to have more self-discipline. No, what am I going to do to prepare so that tomorrow I can avoid the pitfalls that trapped me today? What can I do to preempt them? So this is how we prepare for failure. So every day, if you can sit down with your students at the beginning of the day, if they're older and they've already practiced all this, they can do it themselves. Eventually, this will be something that they do themselves. But as they're learning and as they're growing, you're going to have to do it with them. If you can sit down with them at the beginning of the day and they can make a list of all the things that need to be done and all the things they want to do. Don't leave out the want to do's, because those are the things that make the must do's worthwhile. Who wants a life just full of to-dos? We have to have the joy. We have to see that if I finish all these things, I'm going to have time to do these things. And that makes a huge difference. So we need to sit down and make a list of the to-dos and the want to-dos. All right, then have them make a plan. Ideally, you want them to look at it and circle or star the one or two top things or bottom things, the things that they really, really hate to do. Because if they do them first, the rest of the day feels so much better. If you can take off your plate the one thing that's the worst, everything else seems lighter. You don't have to dread it. Leaving the thing that you hate to the end just spoils everything before. So make a list of the to-dos, and we call this eat the frog. Okay, so this is a common thing in many motivation things or whatever, but we talk about this with students. If you have a plate of food and it's all the things you love or like or can tolerate, okay, because school is not just about things we love and one thing we hate. So it is all these things on the plate, and you have this frog sitting there, and no matter what, you have to eat everything on the plate. You have to eat the frog. Gross. Okay, you have to eat the frog or whatever it is they think is disgusting. The best way to enjoy the rest of the food is to get the frog off your plate. And if we hide it in a napkin and we put it on our lap, we know it's there. And we're still going to have to eat the frog. And if we don't eat it today, we're just going to have 2 tomorrow. And if we don't eat them tomorrow, we're just going to have 3 the next day. So if we get it out of the way with, all of a sudden the rest of the food on that plate seems so much better. And we are so much lighter. So we can eat the frog. And then they can also make a plan for that day. Maybe what order they want to do it in. Some students like to plan breaks. Some students like to schedule everything in. Some students just want a list. I feel like doing this next. I feel like doing this next. The things that have to happen on a certain time, of course, they need to happen at the certain time, right? And everything else gets slotted in around it. So that's one way that we plan. We teach time management. If you can manage your time, then you know whether you failed or not failed. The only way you can succeed in getting everything done is to make a plan to get everything done. That takes the weight off your shoulders. It's less overwhelming when you know how you're going to manage it. So that's one way we deal with the emotions, the overwhelm of this huge list of things to do, and I don't know what to do. We make a plan. So we eat the frog. And the other thing that we do is we need to look at yesterday. Which things yesterday didn't get done that need to get done today? Why didn't they get done? And we need to talk about it. We need to be real about it. What's the real reason that they didn't get done? Is it procrastination? Is it time management? Is it something else? Maybe they need a quiet space to work and they're being distracted. Maybe there's just other things going on that they need to work out in order to be able to be effective in their studies. It's important to work through these things, to figure out why we're struggling, why we're failing. And then we can make a plan so that we can improve that. So I have one student and she's been struggling. One of the things for her is her younger siblings keep running in and distracting her, like coming in and interrupting, and she has trouble focusing. So when she's focusing and someone interrupts her, it kind of breaks it for her. And then it's really hard to get back to. So I said, I bet your mom would be really happy. Your mom and dad would be really happy if you said, listen, I'm trying really hard to do this and get this done and be self-disciplined so that I can do it on my own. But this is a problem for me and I need some help. Can you help make sure that I have a quiet place to study, that I am not interrupted? Have another student whose grandparents were going to be there for an extended length of time, and the family kept making impromptu things. Oh, hey, come on, we're all going skating. Let's go. Your grandmother's here. This is important. Absolutely, family is so important. But they were having a difficult time getting things done. And I know, and you know, that that parent and the grandmother would be so excited if that young person said, okay, I seem to be having a problem. I want to come and do all the fun things with you, but I have these responsibilities and I'm trying to do it all. So can we plan ahead for the next couple of days so that I know in advance what's going to happen so I can work around it? Wouldn't you be proud if your young person was planning that way, thinking that way? Of course you would. Of course you would. Now, maybe perhaps you're the parent and you're saying, I still think spending time with the grandparents is more important. Fine, then take a load off your kids. Just say, put a break on that. We're just going to spend time with your grandmother right now. That's okay. Or we're going to set aside 2 days and this is going to be family time and then you can study on the other days, but make a plan. If the student doesn't know what the family's doing, they can't plan. They can't work around it. And they can't succeed. And we're setting them up to fail when really we want to set them up for success. So planning is so, so important. So important. Okay, when our students struggles, when they fail, we need to talk about why they fail. So we talked about that. We need to talk about how they feel about failing. The feelings are huge. Huge, huge, huge. How do you feel when you fail again and again and again? You're overwhelmed, you're frustrated, you just want to give up. So does your child. In fact, they don't even have the years of experience that you do. So of course they want to give up. Of course they want to just throw in the towel and say, I just can't do this. So talking about those feelings is really important. Well, why do you feel that way? Or how does that feel? Why do you feel that way? What can we do about that? How can you talk to yourself about that? It's okay to fail. It's not okay to tell ourselves we're a failure, we're never going to get it, we can't do this, and no one's going to love me. That's not okay. It's not okay to bully yourself. Bullying yourself is not a solution. Bullying yourself does not help you succeed. It doesn't. So we want to talk about the feelings. We want to also, one other thing that we can do every morning, maybe even at first, like every couple of hours, or in the morning, at lunch, mid-afternoon when we're all getting tired. Okay, let's take a few minutes and let's feel the cost. Okay, what is it going to feel like if I am completely finished everything? I'm going to be so excited. And my mom is going to be so proud of me. And my dad is going to be so proud of me. And I'm going to have time to do some things that I want to do. Right? That feels so good. Feel that feeling. Sit in that feeling of what it's going to feel like. Now imagine, what's it going to feel like if I procrastinate? What's it going to feel like if I don't finish? What's it going to feel like not to have time to do the things that I wanted to do? Sit in that for a while. What do you want? Ask your young person, what do you want? You get to choose which feeling you get. We really do have a lot of control. We really do get to choose. And so asking ourselves which one, when we are tempted to procrastinate, when we're tempted to not follow through with our plan, we need to remember what it feels like to succeed, and we need to remember what it feels like to fail. And we can choose actively which one we're going to do. No, today I actively choose that I am not going to have that time for myself, and I am going to instead use up my time by frittering it away on YouTube or whatever, or staring into space. This one killed me. I would say to my kids, is that what you want to do with your spare time today? Just sit there and stare into space. Can't you think of anything better? Yeah, but you know, we do it as adults, right? How are you as an adult? How are you doing with failure? How are you feeling about your homeschool? Are you feeling like you're failing? Are you struggling? Is it feeling overwhelming? Overwhelm is the feeling of not knowing what to do next. So when we feel overwhelmed, we need to assess and make a plan and then follow through. If you're struggling making a plan for language arts, I would be happy to talk with you, to share with you and give you some ideas. If you're looking for someone who's going to help your student work through these questions to gain the skills that they need, to gain time management, to learn to set goals, to dream big, to make a plan, to fight through and actually care about the things that they're learning, then you want to look into Discern to Learn. I want to invite you. I have a webinar coming up, a parent webinar, and the link will be right here with this video. And you can go there and just choose which webinar time works the best for you. And in that webinar, it is going to be only about the tutoring program. So it's not the full language arts, which I also offer, but the tutoring program is half success mindset, half writing, because they come hand in hand. And students who come to me overwhelmed by writing are usually overwhelmed because of their emotions, because of their time management skills, and because of their fear of failure. And these things really, really matter. When we set our kids free by teaching them how to handle real life issues, then they can do amazing things. So today, please do go right now, before you forget, before you procrastinate, go click the link and join one of the webinars, and you will get an email confirming your registration, and you'll get an email follow-up right before it to remind you about it. So, but please do put it on your calendar, because I know, it's so hard. We want to sign up for things, but it's really important that you show up and you hear and you learn. So thank you so much for coming today. Thank you for watching my live. Thank you for being there for your young person, for helping them walk through these difficulties, because it's parents like you that have children who succeed in this world. Have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon.